and a warm welcome to today's hands-on bootcamp where you will get to build a fully working application in just under 30 minutes. I am 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗂𝘁𝗶𝗃 and I'm the Director for Community and Partnerships with OpenWeaver. OpenWeaver is a SaaS technology company supporting over 1 million developers worldwide build their ideas faster by reusing open source software. Our vision is to reinvent digital realization. Very simply put, we'd like to improve the way applications are built. We do this by investing in a unique combination of both public domain knowledge and artificial intelligence. So coming to today's bootcamp, this is an integral part of our OpenWeaver community initiatives. The OpenWeaver community is a body of like-minded technology enthusiasts and open source contributors who have come together with the vision of contributing to the world of open source and sharing how complex use cases can be developed by reusing open source. Over the last few weeks, we have run several such open source development bootcamps on a variety of topics, such as building your own AR-powered e-commerce site, building your own ChatGPT, building a breast cancer prediction engine, building an object detection engine, basics of Python programming, and many more to come. Through these bootcamps, you will realize that technology does not have to be complex and definitely does not have to be developed in silos. You will see how you can take a solution that is pre-built, in fact pre-built by many people in the world, and then you can build on top of it and share it back such that your solution can now be accessed by many other people in the world who can then further build on top of your ideas, thereby accelerating this virtuous cycle of innovation and also helping you scale your ideas and bring it to life much faster. So with that brief introduction, I will now welcome our mentor for today's session, 𝗥𝗲𝗄𝗃𝗂𝗁, who is a senior developer advocate with OpenWeaver.
Hello everyone, welcome to this session on building your own GPT. So this GPT for all that we are discussing today is actually another revolutionary kit that I would say you can set your ChatGPT, similar tool or a similar generative AI model onto your systems. So we will discuss the technical aspects of it. We will talk about everything. Let's get to the agenda of the day. So we'll talk about the large language models today and how these large language models, generative AI, has changed the way, the peak has come in technology, where you have ChatGPT, you've got Bing, you've got Bard from Google, and today what we are going to talk about is something where we are saying that it is possible to run your own ChatGPT sort of a model completely equivalent on your laptop. So you don't need any special graphic card, don't need any special hardware, just a normal laptop, right? On a normal laptop. So this is really, really interesting. If you at all know what large language models are, this is going to be really interesting, that we are going to build something onto our systems simply. We are going to set it up onto our normal laptops today. So let's take a quick look at the model that we're going to discuss today and how it can be run onto our laptops. I will discuss the large language models and also compare the various other models which have redefined the way we are using these generative AI tools today. So heading over to a kit page, which primarily will showcase you. I'll showcase you. I hope my screen is visible. And this is our solution for today, where we are going to check out that this GPT for all, which is a current ecosystem where wherein we have a chatbot, similar chatbot, which ChatGPT is. But the most interesting part for today is I'm not sending any data to OpenAI. So everything is on my system, and then I don't need internet to run this model. Then I don't need to share my personal data. I don't need to worry about my data being shared or all the information being collected from me. And then the size is very limited. If I talk about large language models, this is only going to take 4 GB of space onto your systems. So I hope with the understanding that you may have, this is the most interesting model that we'll run today. So let's ask it a very quick first query. We'll start with something really interesting today. I have the prompt a bit prepared. So I want to ask it something like, I will just paste my question here. So it's a query as in it's 5 a.m. Uh, you are asleep and there is a loud knock at the door. So this is a question for my model. It's a friend who has come over to have breakfast. And in your fridge, there are eggs, bread, milk, juice, a jar of honey. What do you open first? So there are some parameters. So interesting part of this model is we have an option to vary the tokens that it will generate, the words it will generate as a response, and also the creativity question, your temperature for sampling of this model. So as of now, I have just kept them to minimal to be able to showcase you the generated response for our model. So there are also advanced options available where you can do a little bit more of varying this sampling quality. There is a repeat penalty, top k, etc. So we'll talk about all of this in detail. But for now, for my query, I would like to see how my model will respond onto my system directly. So I just asked it this question and let us see its response. So you just have to also understand that this large language model certainly would take a bit of time. So we won't have to worry about the duration that it would take. But then it is somehow exactly, be able to generate content as a generative AI. So it's saying I would open the eggs first since they need to be cooked before being eaten and can't be kept for too long in their past state. So based on the advanced feature that you vary, okay. So this top P, if I increase again and then regenerate the query for the same, you would see a change in the response. So the reason why I'm showcasing you that a model which I've just asked a very simple question, but we can ask it to write a story, we can ask it to uh, generate as much content as possible. You can generate your LinkedIn post through it, you can generate a complete story around it, you can ask it places to visit, So we see that. So then with increasing this sampling value of top P, it's saying the answer is milk since it is refrigerated and needs to be consumed within a day. So yeah, every time I am asking the same question, so opening it early in the morning would not affect its shelf life. So yeah, the model is somehow trying to respond to whatever it thinks is the first thing it should go ahead and open with. So this is one of the demos. We will get into the concepts and how you can set this kit onto your systems now. So for that, currently you are viewing this session onto the community platform. Okay, this is the community page platform where you are viewing this session. Under the resources section, you will have an option for a kandi one click kit. So guys, the model that you just saw, which I was running on my local system, the current power of LLMs has enabled us to get the weights, the precision reduced, quantized to an extent that we are able to set these huge billions and trillions of trained data set based models onto our own system. So I think that's really amazing. And we'll get back to how you can set up the kit. I just want to tell you what all is present on this page. We have your assessment here. Then you also have an option to earn yourself an open source enthusiast badge. So for that, you will have to follow the setup process that I will guide you through. And on your Jupyter notebook, you run the code, take a screenshot of whatever interesting prompts you are putting into this model and show us the power of this kandi kit that you think is interesting to work with onto your system. So as these systems will grow, the interesting part is each we can create models which are expert in each domain, let's say into a certain domain, and then those can be set up onto an individual or a set of people system, and they can work without any intervention, any key or any money that needs to be paid for the usage of tools, or because of unavailability of server or computing power. Your own PC is sufficient enough. So yes, we also have some interesting polling questions for you to check out. We would be interested in knowing what all questions you are able to, perfectly answer. Just play around with these onto the platform. Put your queries using the login button here. We also have a chat feature. So now let's quickly get to setting up of this interesting kit. So once again, under the resources section, you have the Kandi one click kit button. Click there. It will take you to our kit page. This kit page has details on the model, on how this model is built up, and also the deployment information for how you can set it up on Windows as well as Linux distributions, also for Mac OS. So for now, I would be showcasing its setup onto the Windows system. Go ahead and click on this one click installer. It will download a zip file, say show in folder. This zip file you should extract before you double click and get into the folder. Always remember to extract this zip file. Then you will find this batch file, double click the batch file, say more info, and run anyway. So this will start setting up this kit onto your systems, and it will also give you pop-ups for the dependencies and requirements. You just have to follow this setup and the process will begin for you. Also, I would like to tell, since one instance of this model is already running onto my system, I would let this setup happen and wait for all of you to get this model downloaded. So this is going to take a bit of time, since we have already mentioned that this involves downloading the model onto your systems. So stay tuned. Let this setup happen. Okay, we will let this setup happen. You just have to wait for this to set up. Since I already had it set up, you saw that the kit got quickly set up. So it's only the first time that you would have to wait. Rest of the time you can quickly run and get to the model. Jupyter Notebook will automatically open for you. Now we will get into the concepts and then get back to this point. So we are here today and we wish to talk about generative AI and large language models. So when we are talking about generative AI, if you guys are aware of, this is a technology that works with pre-trained transformers, or your generative pre-trained transformers, which help in uh, generating content, which help in answering queries, translating from one language to another. They are able to do tasks similar to a human being. And this capability of these AI models, where they are able to, perform tasks, they are able to behave like humans, have enabled us to use these very vividly to augment our daily work. So you know that the size of these models, which are based on generative AI, is pretty huge. Okay, so this is pretty huge, and because it is big, so it was difficult for it was difficult for all of us to get availability on the chat gpt platform while we were trying to get all our queries answered quickly from it. So more computation power was required, and more servers were needed to serve the demand, and then it required huge amounts of hardware. So if you know, there were 175 billion parameters that that it was trained on, and because of which millions of people trying to access it, it became pretty difficult. So what is the most irrespective of all of this, we are pretty interested in learning that why these large language models are so special, or what they have changed and transformed for us. So first of all, they are trained on massive amount and varied volume of text. They show surprising capabilities. We see the generative creative content, text. They're able to solve mathematical problems. They're able to give us comprehensive question answers. They're able to give us, you know, they're able to create lyrics for our music. So everything happened with these large language models, and they were able to, let's say, if I want to categorize, so then they were somehow unprecedented language understanding models. So we are able to say they were able to understand and generate human language with a level of accuracy that was good enough for us to be used in our day-to-day lives to help us solve our queries. And why was this possible? Because of their massive size and advanced algorithms that were used to train these. Then they were able to they were not designed or for a specific task or application. So they could be used for any general purpose query for a wide range of natural processing tasks, say translation, summarization, question answering, whatever you could think of, they were able to do and perform for you. How did they learn? So the most remarkable feature of these LLMs was the ability to perform zero shot learning. So this zero shot learning is where they can perform tasks they have never been specially trained on, right? Using their own understanding of the language and the context in which it is being used, they were producing content of uh, content that was pretty good enough that they were able to satisfy us, right, with the great human feedback that was also provided to these models initially while training. And then we have this fourth point where we talk about the transfer learning. So these can be, fine tuned. You have the model to do a specific task with relatively little training data. So that is where we are coming through, that this current GPT for all, where a lot of open source developers have contributed, so that can, you don't have to wait for this chat GPT server to get available. You can quickly run it onto your systems. So they were pre-trained on vast amount of text, allowing them to learn, general language patterns specifically for little training data for doing some specific task. So they had the capability to have been pre-trained on vast amount of text to learn general language patterns. Then those general language based patterns, they can be applied to perform specific tasks. So they are special because of the exceptional language understanding, their versatility, ability to learn from and adapt to new context. In fact, if you see, because of these interesting capabilities, I also want to talk about the working. So you see that supposedly I'm putting up a simple query as which citrus fruit, and I would just see that my model will try to go in, both the directions, backward direction. Let's say it will try to generate is your favorite. It would try to get to content where whatever is the unknown, it will try to predict it. It will try to go both in the forward and the backward direction to be able to get to the, content and generate a relevant content, not just any content but a relevant content. In fact, the root form of the word, let's say the current query doesn't have it, but say, let's say I had some query, I would like to walk to, no, I was walking to some, it tries to fill in those gaps. It tries to fill in those gaps, and that is what makes this LLMs more interesting. And when we are saying these are again natural language models, right, at the end of the day, English, Hindi, Bangla, uh, whatever language, French, so these are trained to be able to talk to humans. These are conversational agents. So they also follow your lemmatization and stemming concept, where they break the word into its base form or the root form. Walked becomes walk, walking walks. All of these, for only the root form is what is used to generate or is the used to get an understanding of how, how in the forward or the backward direction, what are those other tokens that the model can generate and are close to the expectation of the human. So today, this model that we are going to set up onto our systems, this is which you have already maybe already set up. this is a complete ecosystem of various layers of large language models which had been cleaned on, which were cleaned, the data set was cleaned, the code, etc., was cleaned enough, and then CPP bindings were used. We used the llama CPP binding in this model, and it was a collection of various, let's say, it was based on the LoRa quantized bindings. So what is LoRa? I'll talk about the large language models which have made things easier, how the source code has become open. So we'll also quickly talk about that part. But what this current model can do, it will help you get to code, stories, dialogue, all of it. So the features: question answering, text completion, code creation, summarization. It will do all of this. But the interesting part is you don't have to wait. There's no privacy concern. Also, it outperforms GPT-3 on various benchmark tasks. So I think that's something to actually look upon. We also want to talk about the llama, alpaca, and LoRa models. So llama was Meta's initiative to provide an open source alternative to all these commercial uh, GPT 3.5 models, etc., which can predict the next token. That's what I'm trying to say. The next word based on a given input sequence, and it required really a very less amount of computing power and resources. So with the 7 billion was the minimum parameters, the model with the minimum size having 7 billion parameters, and it also ranged to up to 65 billion is what was introduced by Meta. Alpaca was a fine-tuned version of the instruct GPT of this llama, and it was introduced by Stanford researchers. And again, it was capable of following instructions just exactly how your chat GPT does. So yeah, these models are based on these interesting llama, alpaca. Yeah. So then we come to LoRa, the model, the technique or the method that is used in our today's GPT-4. So it's a low rank adaptation of large language models. What do we do here? Here we try to reduce the consumption of the storage space, the memory, by the large language model. We train it. We try to train it in a way that we try to freeze the original weights, and the model is being trained on parameters by learning pairs of rank decomposition matrices. So what does this help? It used to vastly help reduce the storage requirement for some specific task, and then we could efficiently switch tasks during deployment without any inference latency, without any reduction in time, is what I'm trying to state. So LoRa, it actually outperforms several other adaptation methods, including adapter, prefix tuning, fine tuning. So any model, base model, if you download, that is also available, you can fine tune it to perform a specific task. So this LoRa quantized is what we are using in our model today. So we quickly move to the consideration of our GPT. Let's check it out and see how better is our current model performing. So if you see, this is the notebook that should open in front of you, and uh, we will discuss what all is happening in this current code thread. If you see that everything that we have talked about is primarily behind this quantized GGML, which is which is a CPP binding of your LLaMa model, which was introduced by Meta. So its weights, and biases, these were actually released. It was used for, it was actually introduced for research purposes, etc. You had to request it, but then they got leaked, and then somehow we currently have a community of open source contributors who have made this GPT for all simply available to all of us. So let's use the benefit of this open source uh, tool that we have today. So as we discuss our model, it primarily has your imports for annotations. You have your gradio. This is used primarily for the designing purpose of the entire outline that you are seeing around your gradio. your entire outline where you're seeing your tool being put through a question. So this question bar, the slider icons and all is what we are going to build using the Gradio, the design basically. So this is for loading the themes, etc., the color, font sizes. And then from the 𝗤𝗪 CPP, we are importing the 𝗤𝗪 model. And within this, we have our GPT4ALL LoRa contextized within the bin that is loaded here as a LLM model. And as usual, we define the prompt for our model. We define the instruction, we mention the expected response. So we have a function called generate, within which we first have your instruction, then you have your max tokens. So maximum tokens is 256, but if you see, as of now with the slider I have reduced it to 100. Then because the model will keep generating them, then you have an option for setting the temperature. So again, to vary the way in which the model responds or generates your content, you change the temperature. There is a top p parameter that also you can vary. Then you have repeat penalty, you have top k, so many of these parameters. So top p and top k, these you use for sampling the responses, the content that the words that your model will use to respond. So top p and top k is used for that. Then you are simply behind these parameters you have your actual model. So for x in LLM, which we had defined here, which we had loaded here, we say instruction dot format for our instruction to be loaded here, whatever are the tokens that got saved here. So all these values are simply set here. Then you yield the final result. You simply get the result from this inbuilt generate method that is present here. Then this is a simple Gradio interface for the theme that is being set up, that you're seeing that there is a Google font called 𝗥𝗲𝗍𝗂 and UI sans serif is the type of the font. Then you have defined a column within which you are mentioning that detail about the GPT4ALL. So this is the content that is being showcased. Further, you have your row within which you have the row is further defined with a scale of 3. You have a text box where you are mentioning your question. There is another label where you have a capability for setting the max tokens. Then you have another label where you are setting the creativity quotient. So max tokens and creativity quotient can be varied here. Then you have another advanced options which are currently hidden. So if you would like, you can just click on this slider to get to the advanced options. So by default, there is some value for top P and your value for your repeat penalty. Similarly, value for top K already being defined in terms of step value and info. So this is again in the form of a slider, which is the Gradio library used for to showcase these 3 parameters. Then we have your answer, the box for your answer. So that is again your markdown here. Then a generate option to click on generate and get to the answer. So that's how you are actually generating. And with this dot launch is what you are getting this launched onto your different screen. So you can simply click here also to get another similar interface being opened. So now let's go and check out this model. So this is the last query that I had placed into it. And now I would like to try some few more. So I have just listed down if it could give me some top 5 books to read on Sci-Fi. If you want, you can change the tokens to be more, maybe the creativity quotient as well. And then we would like to get to the generation part. So the interesting part for this model is that you have an option to limit the max tokens as well that it will generate. And every time you try to get a response, it will try to give you a interesting response. So as of now, you see that it has started generating a space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, the Foundation Trilogy by Isaac. So yeah, some interesting sci-fi books it is suggesting me. We can check for some. Give me top 3 places to visit in any country, let's say Turkey. So we will just, so these are the 5 books. Let's ask it to generate some top 3 places to visit in Turkey. And then this is also interesting, right? So it's giving us Istanbul is obviously pretty famous, and it is also describing about the place. Okay. It says it's a historic capital. It's pretty interesting how it is able to use, the kind of words vibrant and diverse metropolis is one of the most famous, most important cities in Europe. And it is also mentioning about that what it holds the greatest monuments. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Then it's talking about some second place. I haven't heard of it. Uh, so yeah, this is famous surreal landscape carved by volcanic eruptions. Another very interesting popular spot it has mentioned. And let's okay, since we've mentioned good creativity, we can increase the creativity also if you would like. It's also home to some of Turkey's most impressive rock formations. Hmm, that's nice. And then let's just see what is the third option that it will give us. Okay, if this is one of the okay, so then you see it was trying to generate a third one, but since I have limited the tokens that it should generate, that's why it has to stop here. So I just have to increase the number of tokens that it generates and then click on generate again. But then let's try and check out some other query. Uh, Let me just ask it to create a LinkedIn post for OpenViewer OpenViewer winning the best SME award at the NASCOM events. So we can also make it descriptive, create a 3 line maybe, or maybe let's just check out what it generates as a post. I mean, you can obviously make your prompts more interesting and more specific if you would like to have something specific being mentioned in the post. So it says, congratulations to the entire team of OpenViewer on being awarded. So it's highlighting, whatever is being required, and based on whatever, see, we just run it individually onto your systems. So depending on that, it will try to also give you quick, interesting, decent responses if you check out the other advanced options that are also available. So I guess this looks pretty great. This is a great achievement, and I would like to commend you for your hard work, dedication, and passion towards excellence. Hmm. So yeah, that's an interesting post. We can also check something else. Let's check out what else. Yeah, we this is some interesting prompt that I checked. I wanted to check. Explain me the story of Popeye in one sentence. So let's check What will it say in one sentence for a Popeye story? Okay. Popeye sailor eats spinach to gain. Oh, so it has context to it. To gain strength and save olive oil from Pluto. Wow. So pretty specific. In one line, it tries to put up everything. I think that's interesting the way it has put the one statement right to explain the entire story. What else? Let's go for a last quick check of a prompt. Let's ask it to write a story about a girl with an umbrella, rain, and forest, and how she likes everything about the forest. Let's see. I will increase the tokens for this one and say generate. So this is going to be, one of those results where the story would, since I have not even mentioned that, limited to 100, 400, and I've already mentioned the tokens at 376. So it won't stop earlier than that. So it's saying, once upon a time, there was a girl, named Rainy, who loved to go for walks in the nearby forest. She always carried a favorite umbrella. So yeah, you can ask it to create really interesting code stories, whatnot. So I hope this was interesting, and you would also like to have this assistant onto your system. You no longer have to wait for for the servers to be available. You don't have to share whatever you are asking this model. You have your privacy of content that you try to generate, and you don't have to share it anywhere. Only this will run onto your systems. So that's the power of open source, and I hope this was interesting. Now I would like to look forward for some interesting questions from you guys. So let's take questions from our community members. I see this is I think one of the most important questions they have asked. Can you explain and compare uh, a quantized model and your LLM models? So very good question from our community member. A quantized model, that's what I'm trying to use today here. A model which is quantized, it executes some or all the operations on tensors with reduced precision. So we are saying that rather than full precision floating point values, we are reducing it a bit in a way that your model can be compacted, and you can use it for high performance, where you have your limitations of hardware, or you can use it on your local systems. So that is the difference that you have in a quantized model and a uh, normal chat gpt sort of a model that has been trained on billions and trillions of data, and you cannot just hold it on your local machine. And we also have another question that I see from one of our members who keep checking out our sessions regularly. So he says, I wanted to understand that what would be the future of these generative models in comparison to the one that you just showcased. So it is also a part of generative AI. How will this model benefit me? Okay, so correct question. He wants to compare. So I would want to suggest you, going forward, the model. So what we did, once the weight and biases were available, the same model we made it susceptible that you can download as a one click onto your systems directly. You don't have to share any data. You don't have to share even what query you are making to this automated response model that it is providing. Going forward, what you can do, you can fine tune and make it specific for certain answers. You want to make it, let's say, as a travel agent, you want to use it for traveling, so it can help you create itineraries, quick itineraries for different places, right? You can see it is giving us responses, but then you can fine tune it in a way that it will give more specific responses, and you can remove whatever is not required and make it more compact. And maybe in the longer run you can have these models directly onto your phones. There are models that are running on Raspberry Pis as well. So soon, I don't know, with the kind of evolution we are going, you may have your mobile devices with such models already running onto your mobile phones. So I think with this, we were able to, answer that very interesting last question that we had. I also look forward to any more questions from you onto our community page where you are seeing our today's session. So I hope we were able to take three key points in today's session. We talked about a bit on these interesting generative AI models. We talked about how you can compare your regular large language models with the ones that have come today, your LLaMa, Alpaca, LoRa, so that they are helping you create an ecosystem where you are able to simply build up these models on your local machines without the need for GPU. They're doing it on CPU. So we have to thank those researchers. You can go forward and do the same. And we did all of this in a single click kit, right? We tried to put it all together in a kit that you can use, set up onto your systems. So I think we have one more question. Can it help us in making research projects? So, Sayed, absolutely, you can ask it to, uh, you know, you will have to, it can give you suggestions for businesses, it can give you suggestions for research projects. You will have to write the prompts in a way that it will help you even generate content for your thesis. So that's what is going in academia these days, right? Where people are talking and asking about that, is there a possibility we can check that whatever is the thesis, the content written in it, has been ChatGPT generated or is it human generated? So that is another research which is going on, and soon we will have some discussion on that as well. Hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja, for that lovely session. For all our viewers and bootcamp participants, we hope you enjoyed the session and found the use case that was presented valuable. Please note that all of you who participated will be eligible to receive certificates for this bootcamp. In order to receive your certificate, please complete the assessment by answering two very simple questions. You can do that by scrolling down from on the same page where you're viewing the bootcamp today. You will find a Take Assessment button. Click that button and complete the assessment. You should then receive your certificates in less than a week from today. We will be conducting such bootcamps frequently and regularly. So if you'd like to stay updated with our program calendar, do join our community on community.openweaver.com. This community is where we will connect with you. It helps us receive feedback from you. It helps us understand topics for future bootcamps. But also you can use this community space to collaborate with each other, to ask us any questions and receive clarification if you'd like, or just share your projects and anything else that you would like to in the world of open source. So do join our community and also follow us on our social media channels to stay updated on information and trends in the world of open source. With that, I would like to thank you all for your participation today, and I look forward to seeing you in yet another bootcamp very soon. Thank you and good evening.